Welcome back to the 12th Man podcast, where it was another unbelievable weekend for Liverpool. A great win against the current champions, Manchester City. We'll be looking back at that game and what it means for the Premier League title race. Elsewhere, Arsenal scored five. They won 5-2 at West Ham. An unbelievable display in the first half from Arsenal, put West Ham to the sword. We'll also look back through the rest of the weekend results, and we'll look ahead to the midweek action in the Premier League. You know, it's Christmas when there's lots of football on, and Christmas is here almost. So a big week ahead for a lot of teams, and a big week ahead for Liverpool, of course, because Newcastle away and Everton away makes it a very tricky week. They've got over that first hurdle. Can they get over the next couple? And that will put them in a really, really good position. So, Owen, I'm sure you're delighted, as you have been for most of this season coming on here. A big one for Liverpool, 9 points clear after beating the current champions.
I mean, you summed it up well there. Like it seems every week I'm coming on here and I've nothing else to say other than I'm buzzing with the way we're playing at the moment. And as you said, we have two more tough games coming up this week, starting with Newcastle on Wednesday night, and then the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. But from what I've seen of Everton yesterday, I hope it's that Everton turn up, so we can put them to the sword a bit. But no, it's all going well at the moment for me, and long may it continue.
Yeah, a fantastic weekend for Liverpool fans, and it's been a fantastic season so far. They're really enjoying this ride under Arne Slot. Of course, Jurgen Klopp's departure was a worrying time for Liverpool fans, but rest assured, at this moment in time, Klopp's not really missed, does he, Owen? Because Liverpool are
No.
going from strength to strength, and you know we've seen all sides of Liverpool yesterday, and I'm sure we'll get on there about the attacking display, the defensive display, which was probably lacking at times under Klopp, especially in the transition. But did you get the feeling? I remember when I watched Liverpool at the start of the season against Wolves and Forest, and only lost the Forest game, even as recent as the Arsenal game and the Chelsea game. And I was thinking, do I really see this team winning the league? When I watched it, did I think I was watching potential champions? And I have to say, I didn't. But watching it yesterday, I kind of felt now that this is the team that could go on. They won the league because it was such a strong performance, and it was the way they played from the first minute to the 90th minute. They showed different sides to them. No, and it was really, really good to watch. And Man City had no answer at all.
No, as you said yesterday, like for the first 30 minutes, it was electric. It was Klopp football. Then we got the goal through brilliant pass from Trent down to Salah, and then Salah just played a beautiful ball on the Gakpo, and that's what I got the ball rolling. Then and Man City came back in there a wee bit, but they never really threatened. I don't think Man City had a meaningful chance in the whole game, apart from when Van Dijk had that wee lapse of concentration near the end. But other than that, no, I thought we controlled the game very well. Which, as I said to you before we came on, this is the first time playing Man City, even at Anfield, where we have a good record. Where I went in there expecting us to win, and we did. But we showed our defensive side as well, and that's what I was saying. Like no matter what they threw at us yesterday, we seemed to we dealt with it well. I thought Van Dijk was fantastic yesterday, apart from, as I say, that we blip near the end, but other than that, he won everything in the air. Holland got no change out of him. I don't think Keller had to make a really big save. So I think overall, if there's one disappointment, is that we didn't win by more.
Yeah, and they could have done those first 15, 20 minutes. They could have had the game over and done. Really, they had so many opportunities. As you say, we've seen that kind of electric side. They Liverpool, almost like a throwback. They when teams went to Anfield under Klopp, where they were put under serious pressure from the kickoff. Do you think Slot made that tweak because of how vulnerable Man City were, that we're going to really get after them here, make it uncomfortable, get the crowd on side? And it was a really difficult opening period for Man City. Really, they were fortunate to be still in the game.
We discussed that on the last podcast where we were thinking what way would Liverpool set up, and I said we need to get the crowd on side. The crowd will have a big party playing. They were electric yesterday, and they had a bit of banter going back and forth with him and Pep with a "you're getting sacked in the morning" thing, and Pep doing that. But he doesn't need to remind Liverpool of how many Champions Leagues we've won. But it's no. I thought two of mine yesterday we were excellent. I thought Gravenberch was I thought Gravenberch was brilliant in the midfield. And you know what? It hasn't really got praised from what I've heard, but I thought Szoboszlai was excellent yesterday. I thought his pressing, that boy must have an iron lung because he just doesn't stop
Yeah,
running.
I think Liverpool's starting 11 yesterday were all fantastic.
Yeah,
I don't know, certain players were quieter than ours, but I just thought everyone done their roles defensively going forward. And Man City never looked like scoring, has to be said, really, or in that Van Dijk era at the end. But when Man City had possession, you never really felt like they had the belief they could get back into the game.
no, and that's
And
what
the only
that's what
danger, the only danger I thought of them was if it stays 1-0 right until the very end, there's always an opportunity, no matter who you're playing, that they can get a goal out of nothing. But
that,
once that
that
second
was
goal happened,
my
that was the killer.
that was my worry when Salah went through before he got the penalty. I was thinking, oh, is this going to come back and bite
I
us?
couldn't believe he must have. I mean, it was just you're waiting for Lanetti to ripple because he's
Yeah,
so consistent. But for whatever reason, he put too much on it, and I suppose he is human. He can make
yeah,
mistakes, but it's now that you mentioned Salah, of course, Ronan, I know we talk about this every podcast, every show, but I think it's something that we have to keep talking about until the contract news is done because we're now in the December. These boys are 4 weeks away from being able to sign for a foreign club in January for next season. Um, is it worrying now that it's getting so late and we're nearly halfway through the season? There has been murmurs that Van Dijk's close, but we're hearing that Salah's still a long way off, and he's quite frustrated with Liverpool and how they're dealing with it. He is maybe now prepared to sign a 1-year extension, but Trent, we haven't heard much at all in the last wee while either, and it looks from the outside that he could be the one that's definitely going. But
yeah.
are you worried now that this is running on the Christmas time? Like,
I'm not worried because if they leave, I'll be disappointed. Because they're big players, but I'm frustrated more than anything that it's got to this point. It should have been tied up. It should have been tied up 18 months ago. We should have got this done. We should have got this done the last 12, 18 months. But as you say, I have a feeling. I have a feeling Van Dijk's done. Uh, I think his deal's signed. It's just not signed, but I think there's an agreement that it's going to get signed, and I think that'll be announced soon. But Salah, I think Salah will get signed as well. And as you say, I think Trent's the one that I can see leaving. But I think Van Dijk and Salah will be here. I have a strange feeling that come January 1st, Liverpool will announce Van Dijk's contract because I think in terms of incomings, it's going to be very quiet. So they'll go, here, look, Van Dijk signed a new contract.
are you worried that so much is going to be put into these contracts that means there will be a lack of business in January? Because Liverpool only signed. Well, they signed the goalkeeper, but he's not coming the next season, so technically that's a signing for next year. And Chiesa is the other one. We've hardly seen him really, and I kind of did think that this was a bit of a senseless signing. I kind of thought with his injury record, it was Liverpool. I know it was only 10 million, but when you think about the 10 million plus the wages he's going to be getting, that's just a waste of money for me. I know maybe they did it as cover, but that hasn't worked out so far. I know he is closer to getting back, but I just have a feeling he's going to be one of them players. He's going to break down again, and you're not going to see him. But the fact that they're going with the same squad that they had last year, and we're going to speak about it later on, the dip in the second half of the season. Would you like to see investment in January to push Liverpool over the line?
100%. I always want to stay strengthened, but I have a wild feeling we're going to have a quiet January. But the saying gets put out there: if Liverpool see an opportunity in January, they'll go for it, like we did with Gakpo a few years ago. I think it was. I think the Gakpo thing was Man United wanted him, so we were just like, nope. We went down and got him before they could. So maybe if Man City go on for Zubimendi in January, we'll go in there. But I can't see us. I can see us signing maybe one, but I don't. I do think we'll have a quiet January. But I think in the summer, a few areas need addressed, particularly if the worst case scenario happens and all three of these players go.
Yeah. So you still think it's going to be Salah, Van Dijk staying, Trent going?
Aye, in an ideal world, I would love all of them to stay, but for me, Trent's the one that's more likely to leave.
Yeah. Of course, showing that one yesterday takes Arsenal, Liverpool 9 points clear of second place to Arsenal. Chelsea are obviously 9 points behind as well. Do you think it's Liverpool's league they lose now? Do you think they're huge favourites? Even Gary Neville said it yesterday. after the game, that this as their, they are the new favourites. I think Roy Keane says they're a dangerous team at the moment, and it's hard to see how they can't be favourites. You know, is this a different kind of pressure now that they've earned this favourites tag? They're going to have to cope with that now every week.
Oh, definitely. Like we're favorites. They want it. Like, and it is ours. They lose, and like when you're 9 points clear of Arsenal, and you have to throw Chelsea in there at the minute because they're staying up there at the minute. Whether they maintain it throughout the season is a different thing. But at the minute, it's Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. But if we, I'm nearly close to saying if we get out of it, Newcastle and Everton, we maximum points. We have one hand on it because there are two tough away games, and I know in December we have a tough away game at Spurs. But as you know yourself, you don't know what Spurs will turn up. No one Spurs, they'll probably beat us and lose. They someone else the week after.
um,
But for me, there's no one. There's it's sort of the way you were saying when Spurs play people, you're not afraid of anyone. That's how I feel with Liverpool at the minute.
I'm afraid of Spurs. So I'm afraid of themselves. Owen, of course, it's that damaging defeat for Man City. I think Pep conceded that the league is pretty unlikely now, even if they were to go on a huge run. The gap is pretty big now. The Liverpool 11 points.
They could get back.
He didn't completely rule them out, but he did say it would be a massive task, especially with the form they're in. They don't know where their next one's coming from because they've lost that one on feeling. So, I mean, Carragher says after the game yesterday on Sky that he believes Man City need to forget about the title and make sure they finish in the top four. Is that a feasible statement? Because as you say, Arsenal, Chelsea all look better. There's even teams below Man City that look a bit better than them at the moment, but it's hard to see on this evidence how they would finish above any of those three. So, as fourth, the best they can get this season, do you think?
If they stick with the squad and don't do anything in January, then But I think if they do anything in January, I think third is there. But as you said, they don't know when they're going to win their next game, and once you get into a losing rut, as we seen a few years ago, us under Klopp, we lost like 6 home games in a row, if you remember.
Yeah.
I know that was different. There was no fans there, but still. And once you lose one game and then one game, it sort of just feels like you're not going to win another game. And if they go out now and lose the Forest, say on Wednesday night, then what happens there? Because as you said, this can continue if they keep losing or drawing. It can't be sustainable for as good as Man City have been over the years. There will have to be questions asked because it's not what have you done for me in the past. It's what have you done for me lately. And at the minute, they're not up to what they should be.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of players at the moment just look shot to pieces at Man City. Maybe it's confidence, maybe it's age, but the one thing that I think is baffling is they're all off it. Every one of them. I can't think of one Man City player at the minute that's anywhere near his best. I know you have Walker, Gundogan, and Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne are all getting older, but even the likes of Foden and Haaland, they're miles off their best. So that's not down to age, or that's not down to anything to do with they're past their best because they're still young enough players. So why do you think at the minute there's so many problems at Man City?
I just think once, as I said, once you're on a losing run, I think it just affects the whole team. But I thought yesterday, particularly yesterday, it was so easy for Liverpool to get through the midfield. They had no defensive players on that pitch in terms of midfield. I think if I remember, it was Gundogan and Rico Lewis or something in the midfield, if I remember right. And then they had Matthias Nunes on the left.
I was surprised. I think Carragher said this as well. I was surprised that they went with that midfield again after it was Spurs did. But it clearly didn't work. I thought Docky, when he came on, to his credit, made a wee bit of a difference. He carried a wee bit more of a threat. But I think he's one of them players. He would frustrate the life out of you because he beats players, then he goes back on, they beat them again, and 9 times out of 10 it doesn't end anything.
It reminds me of St. Maximin a few years ago at Newcastle.
Very similar player.
On his day, he could rip you to shreds, but when he's not at it, he's a one-trick pony. And I thought as well, Ruben Diaz was awful yesterday. I know he's only come back from injury, but when we got the penalty, it was Nunez was fouled, and then Diaz fouled, and then Walker jumped out. I was like, what are you doing? Like, for
I think there will be a lot of regret at Man City about the Cole Palmer situation now because
yeah
obviously the heights he's had were never going to be they were never realistic at the time. But you look at Man City's powder now in that area. Savinho he isn't as good as Palmer.
yeah
Doku's not as good as Palmer. Grealish probably isn't as good as Palmer. Palmer's output is insane to be honest,
yeah.
and
I think I seen
that's
yesterday.
looking like a huge error of judgment by Man City and Pep now.
No, it is. It definitely is. I think I seen yesterday when I was watching the Chelsea Villa game that Palmer's got like 60 goal involvements in Stamford Bridge or something. He's unbelievable, and the goal he scored yesterday again was a peach. But no, I said at the time that they could love to regret it because their players are aging, and I don't know what it is, but there's something going on with De Bruyne here. I think it, maybe I think Carragher and Neville said that just I think there's been a fall out there.
Possibly. Final thoughts on Man City one. I mean, everyone's saying about a rebuild. How many players do you think that they need to get back to challenging and being the best team? Because looking at it at the minute, it would seem that they're quite a few players away from being able to get back to their best.
Um, for me, they need 5 or 6, honestly, and that's not being dramatic. Like if you look at it yesterday, who get at the minute in that Man City team, who gets into the Liverpool team? Maybe apart from like Holland would be a banker, like. But
Not at the moment. Not at the moment, probably.
I'd still take him to be honest. But like all or that, there's no one there that I would think I would take you at the minute. So I think they need 4. They need to ship out. I think Gundogan at the time everyone was saying, "Oh, it's such a smart signing," but now looking back at it, was it a smart signing because he's not been great? And
Yeah.
and then they want Kyle Walker. Remember Bayern Munich wanted him. Was it last year or the year before? Should they have took the money and sold him there because he's he's lost a yard of piss and even yesterday and Gakpo's not the quickest of players, but Gakpo was burning him yesterday.
Yeah. A long way back from Man City then. Owen, let's look at what seems to be Liverpool's biggest threats to the title this year. Arsenal, they ran riot to be honest in that first half. You know, the 2 goals kind of made it look like it was a bit more even, but it was a domination. It was a demolition job, to be honest, at 4-0.
Yeah,
And you were
it
thinking
was.
this could be a record score because they were cutting through West Ham like they weren't. And I know West Ham have taken some beatings this year, but I think we have to give Arsenal credit as well because they did had 5 at Sporting Lisbon the week. So it
Yeah.
definitely seems since Odegaard's come back and they beat Forest 3-0 the week before that he has made a huge difference to this Arsenal team. And they're a team at the minute that are scoring a lot of goals and they look somewhere near back to their best. Owen, would you say?
They've been electric in the past, especially. I didn't watch the Sporting game, so because we were playing Madrid at the same time. But that West Ham game, like as you say, it could have been a record score, could have been a cricket score. Even I think even before they made it 4-0, they had a couple more chances. Or after they made it 4-0, sorry, before West Ham made it 4-1, they had more chances. I thought Odegaard, as you say, he's back on the team now, and you can tell that's what they were missing because he he's just um he's just a majestic footballer, and it pains me to say it because Arsenal's one of our rivals at the minute for the league, and I don't want them to do well. But when you have a player like Odegaard, you're always going to have a chance. And Saka as well is just he's been electric too at the minute. He's up there with for me at the minute in terms of right wingers. It's him and Salah Salah first and then Saka then for me.
You mentioned Odegaard. All over the years, it's always been De Bruyne, De Bruyne, De Bruyne. Is Odegaard going that same way of that kind of? Is he the best in the league in that role now? The most creative midfielder in the league.
For me, he has to be. He's overtook KDB in terms of at the minute. KDB will go down as the best ever attacking midfielder in the league, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
In terms of the now, Odegaard's leaps and bounds above him because KDB, as we discussed, can't even get into the Man City team at the minute, and they're struggling, which sort of shows you a lot. But he's just a special footballer, and I think at the time when Arsenal first had him on loan, he didn't pull up any trees. Remember the first time, so people were thinking, "Oh, is this going to be one of them footballers who has a lot of promise but never really shows it?" But He's come on leaps and bounds since he's been there permanently, and the key for Arsenal of staying in this title race is keeping him fit.
I always thank players, and I know it's a massive opportunity, but he probably went to Real Madrid too early. I think he signed for Real Madrid when he was 15 or 16.
He
When you
did,
have all that pressure on you, and he needed the move to Arsenal. As you say, the loan was okay, but I was surprised that Arsenal went back in and got him. But I suppose they got him for what, 30 million, so the price was a bit lower, and
like
it's
if
been one of the best bits of business they've done.
not that they will, but if they were to sell him now, they'd be asking for 150, 200 easy.
Definitely. We seen last year, owning this after New Year's Eve, Arsenal got beat by Fulham on New Year's Eve, and then the new year started, and it was like a different Arsenal. They won every game in the league in 2024, from January to May, except for a blip against Villa at home in April. Knowing they've got that in them, they can go on a run like that. Does that make them a huge threat to Liverpool, even though it is only 9 points?
Oh, of course it does. Like if they can go on a big of a run as they did last season, the key for Liverpool is they match. If Arsenal go on a run, the key for Liverpool is they match them on that run. So as much as Arsenal go on a run, we also need to go on a run.
I think they won 17 of their last 18 games. They won, so
Uh,
it will catapult you into it.
they're capable of doing it, but at the moment, I think Liverpool are capable of doing it as well. So it's just who blinks first, really.
I think that's that now. If Chelsea and Arsenal were to fall 12 points behind Liverpool, I think it's a long, long way back. I really do. I think at that point, you only expect the gap to get bigger because you're chasing it in vain. Even if you go out in the pitch, and also the thing as well, there is going to maybe be some weeks, probably not this week, but I think on Saturday, for example, Liverpool's kicking off first, so they could be 12 points before they even kick off. And I had a quick nosy at the fixtures between now and the end of January, and I think there's only 3 times Arsenal play before Liverpool. There's a few times they kick off at the same time, but there's other times Liverpool play first. So I think there's only 3 out of the next 8 or 9 games where Arsenal are going to get that opportunity to close the gap before Liverpool kick off. And I think if you're going out in the pitch 12 points behind, psychologically it's just damaging, and the more it goes on, I think the more likely for a slip or a mistake.
Yep. The key for me is Liverpool getting 9 points out of this. 6 points, but you know what I mean. 9 points. One in these next 2. I was actually looking at the fixture too before we came on, and we don't play Arsenal till I think it's late April, early May.
It's May.
So
that's going to count against Arsenal, because by that point they're going to have closed the gap quite significantly to make that game important. Because if they're going into that game with 3 games to go, 7 points behind, all right, a 1 gives you a squeak, but you still need Liverpool to drop points in the last 2 games then. So it's they need to get up within striking distance by that game, and obviously won at Anfield, and that's something they haven't done for a long time.
Yep. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but hypothetically, we could go into that game and the result doesn't matter. So, but a lot can change between now and then. But as I say, I would, and you have to give. We'll speak about them, but you have to give Chelsea credit too, because they're hanging in there at the minute as well.
Yeah, and of course we chatted about Liverpool. If they don't invest, are they at risk of second half of the season a wee bit like last year? Arsenal played Liverpool in February last year. Liverpool were 5 points ahead, and Arsenal beat them. They closed at 2, and then finished 7 points ahead of Liverpool. So there was a 19-point swing between February and May last year with these 2 teams. So is that the danger that it really unraveled for Liverpool towards the end last year? They should never have finished as far behind as they did, but they completely unraveled towards the end.
Oh, we did, but I don't. I have a feeling we won't do that this year, because you have to remember too. It's a different system, and we weren't as solid defensively as we are now. The key for me as well is keeping Salah, keeping Van Dijk, keeping Trent, keeping all the main players as fit as possible, and getting some players back, because I think we have Jota coming back soon, and he's a big player for us, so he'll add a few extra goals on there. You would think Chiesa, you don't know, but I think the key is keeping players fit and hoping that we can maintain the run, and hoping that Arsenal and Chelsea fall off of it.
You think that'll be the driving force for Arsenal, knowing that Liverpool last year, were top of the league, and couldn't see it through. Do you think that'll be the message from Arteta that you aren't chasing Man City, even though it is a bit like Man City, the way Liverpool are getting the results at the minute? They're winning every week. But because it's not Man City, do you think that he'd be on the players' heads thinking, look, just keep winning our games, and there's a chance they could slip you?
What we saying? He'll be saying like we won our games. All Liverpool need to do really is lose what two. Just say we lose against Newcastle and lose against Everton, then that's down to what 6 or 3 points. So it can all change in a week. But on the flip side of that too, as much as Arteta is going to be saying, we have to we're chasing Liverpool, Slot should be saying we have a chance to do something really special here as well. So both managers have a big part to play in what they want to do this season. And for Arsenal, it's as you say, hoping we slip up and then they get their results.
How much pressure do you think will be on Arteta if Liverpool end up as champions? Because it's not Man City. It's a team that Arsenal are supposed to be ahead of in their journey. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans believe that they've got better players than Liverpool. I seen somebody that they put up. He says Salah, Van Dijk. He says great players. But you could easily go Gabriel as just as good, or maybe not as good, but he's just as valuable to Arsenal, especially from goals. And Saka is obviously their star attacker. So you look at some of the similarities. I think Arsenal probably believe they have a better midfield. So having said all that really means that they should be beating Liverpool over a 38-game season. And I don't know what the excuse would be if they were to finish second and if somehow they didn't win any trophies. Do you think he would be under huge pressure to keep his job?
He would have to be because he's been there now. What is this? His sixth season? His fifth?
Sixth, I think.
He won the FA Cup in his first was his first half
season.
His first
half season. Yep.
But since then they've went on. I think they've spent got to 300 million.
No, I think it's more than that. I think it's closer to 700 all in.
I don't even know.
Well, you think about it, if he's been there for 6 seasons, he's getting 100 million a season, so that's I think it's somewhere between 700 and 800 million they spent.
And for as good as they are, and as impressive as they are, if they don't end up with any trophies this season, and Liverpool, who are under a new manager, have spent no money basically, and won the league, then there has to be questions asked, and I don't think Arsenal fans will be very happy with it if Liverpool do go on and win the league and Arsenal finish second again.
Let's look at the rest of the weekend's results, Owen. We'll start with the Friday night football. It was Brighton and Southampton. Everyone fancied Brighton, but I did say that even though I fancied Brighton, that Southampton are getting better. And if Brighton are off it, and I think Brighton are one of them teams that can beat anyone and lose to anyone. And I have to say, second half, they were quite fortunate to even get a draw in this game because Southampton were outstanding in the second half.
I thought that VAR goal was a disgrace as well. Like I honestly, I don't know what they were doing there with that. So for me, I think Southampton were very unlucky to.
I think it's one of those ones, but the letter of the law, he's made a movement towards the ball. I think he's in trouble.
For me, it's harsh, but I think Southampton can take a lot of encouragement from their last two performances against Liverpool and against Brighton because, and I think in the first half, what I was watching anyway, I thought Brighton was going to blow them away, but then they slowly came into the game and they had their chances. They won it, but I think they'll take it as a valuable point, and obviously they have Chelsea now on Wednesday night, so they'll not be expecting anything out of there the way Chelsea are playing. But as long as they keep picking up the odd point here and there, then they give themselves a slight chance. But for as much as they're improving, I just think they're too far adrift.
Brentford beat Leicester by 5-1. The Brentford, the home day specialists, just keep winning at home. And 1-0 down, and they turned this around in quite emphatic fashion. Shada with a hat-trick, a big day for him. And at the minute, you'd have to say you wouldn't want to be going to Brentford because this record at home is turning out to be a fortress.
No, and Ruud van Nistelrooy is in for a rude awakening. it seems with that Leicester team because they're just shot their butts. And when you're relying on a...
Do you think it's an impossible job to keep Leicester up?
I think so, the way they're playing at the minute. I don't know. To be honest, even though we'll speak about it when we come on to, but I have a feeling that Ipswich might just about stay up.
I think Ipswich and Southampton have a better chance than Leicester, to be honest. I think even
Yeah,
the points that Leicester have, they're fortunate to get them. Whereas I look
yeah.
at Southampton and think in our games, they probably should have got more points.
They
So
should have beaten
Southampton's
Liverpool
performance,
last week.
I think Southampton performance levels have been higher than Leicester's,
Yeah,
as have Ipswich's. I just think Leicester have been so poor, and even the games they've got results on, I don't think they particularly deserve them. But a big one for Brentford, and they keep rolling on. At home, if they could play at home every week,
I
they might have been challenging you for the title.
you, odds high if their if their home form sticks up, if they could transfer their home form to their away form, they would be a serious threat because they have a lot of. I've always liked Brian Mbuemo. I really think he's a top player. He's really good. But for Kevin Shorter too, I think that was his first goal since April. I think. I
Mm.
think he hadn't scored since April, and then
Well, they come in
there's
threes, don't they?
they're saying goes once you get one, they're like London buses. But
That's it.
for Brentford, it was a good day, and they have Villa away now tomorrow or no Wednesday.
I
So
think they'll be really fancying themselves because
that's
Villa's in bad form, but the Brentford away
Villa.
from home doesn't seem to be the same Brentford at home. So we'll have to see. Crystal Palace and Newcastle, a 1-1 draw. A Mark Gay OG. Look, they've given Newcastle a big one until a 94th minute equaliser. I can't remember who scored it. You probably do.
I think it was. I have a feeling
Was
it
it
was I.
Mateta?
I think it was
Right.
it was Matera or Matera.
Um,
I said.
I didn't see this game, so I can't
There
really
you go.
comment on it. But I did think it was going to be a draw.
So
No, sorry, it says Palace 1-0. Sorry, it
I
says Palace 1-0.
think I said
But
1.
I think a draw was always on the cards as well, possibly.
Nah,
Newcastle can't
there's a
seem to
lot
score
of
goals at the minute. Go on.
no, and hopefully it continues for this week. Fingers crossed.
And
But there's
Isak's not fit, so that's a big blow for Newcastle and a really helping hand for Liverpool, really.
there's a bit of discontent at Newcastle at the minute because as you know me, like I like to watch all our fan channels after matches just to get their thoughts on games and stuff. But I was watching a Newcastle channel and they said there's something about Howe's post match interviews where he's going, "Oh, we played well and I can see
Do
things."
you
But
think that that's ran its course, possibly, and that he can't take them any further than he has? They need
I
a
think
change to
so.
go a different way, maybe?
I think so because even last year, I know they had a lot of injuries last year, but it hasn't improved since last year, really.
Well, I've
And
heard rumors that actually there's going to be a parting of ways in the summer.
yeah,
I think that could be one of the issues, maybe why they aren't as playing as well. But I think there is a general consensus from both Howe and Newcastle that it probably needs a different voice.
it'll be
Um,
interesting to see who they decide to go for then.
will be interesting. Jose wants back in, isn't he? So wonder would they go down that route.
Yeah, apparently Jose always said he was a Newcastle fan because he
Hey,
worked there.
Jose will be anybody's fan if he gets an odd job in the Premier League. I'll tell you. That.
And, he sort of has a Newcastle connection a wee bit because he worked with Bobby Robson
Bobby Robson.
with Barcelona, so could be a good fit. But hey, as much as Jose's a madman, I would love to see him back in the Prem. To be honest,
Wolves 2, Bournemouth 4, an absolute thrower. I think there was 3 goals in the opening 8 minutes in this game.
I watched
Cliver,
this.
well, you can chat about this game because I didn't see any 3 o'clock games. I was at the Brandy
Yeah.
Hall watching Maiden City's first team game. But Cliver becomes the first player to score a hat trick of penalties. Of course, Steven Gerrard missed that opportunity a number of years ago when he missed his third penalty at Old Trafford. But Cliver went one better, got the hat trick of penalties. And I don't think I've seen the penalties back. I don't think there can be any complaints about any of them. And Bournemouth got a big one.
And as I say, I watched this game, and it was one of them games where you knew from the first 10 minutes there was going to be goals in it because both teams concede goals, both teams score goals, and as you say, I don't think the penalties were the penalties were penalties, and the Wolves goalkeeper, I don't know what he was doing for the first one. It was, and then the second one was a bit of a head loss as well, but. Again, a bit more pressure on Gary O'Neill. Bournemouth seem to be.
You're itching for this Wolves crowd to get relegated because you says you back him at the start of the season. I know what else is.
I said I know a Wolves fan. He's an older one, but I don't want them to go down. But I just had a feeling because they lost.
I think at the minute the one with Wolves. It's conceding goals is an issue. You know, they're scoring quite. We looked at the stats where they only scored 22 goals. You know, so you're not far off averaging 2 a game. You know, 22 goals and 13 is not as a decent return. But
They've
they
conceded
conceded 28. Was it? You says
34, I think.
34, right?
It's shutting it out. They always their problem. But as for Bournemouth as well, Bournemouth
Bournemouth
are
are another
one.
one of them Brighton teams where
Uh,
on their day can beat anyone as well, and then off holidays they don't turn up.
yep. To be fair to them, they were very unlucky last week against Brighton. They should have at least got a point, I think. But
I,
then,
I think Bournemouth and Brighton have a decent opportunity of getting themselves into Europe. One of them maybe,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I think Spurs at the moment, well, we'll chat about them when we come to them, but I think they're very inconsistent and they're going to be in a lot of competitions.
yeah.
Whereas Bournemouth and Brighton have a clear run. I think Villa are in the same boat. They're struggling. They compete in Europe and in the Premier League. United, I think it's hard to read into United because I think they've had some favourable fixtures. They start this. The next few weeks. I'll tell you more about Man United. But
Yeah.
again, similar. They're in the quarterfinals of the League Cup. They're in Europe as well. So I know Brighton got on a couple of seasons ago.
I
So
would
I'm
love
sure
to
they'll
see.
be fancying it again. But I'm sure Bournemouth will be looking at them spots too and thinking, do you know what? There's an opportunity here.
We'll speak about it as well when we get to Spurs, but Fulham as well is one of them teams on their day that can beat anyone and lose to anyone. But I would love to see Bournemouth get into Europe just because it's a team that were nearly in the verge of being extinct 10, 15 years ago, and they're a consistent Premier League team now, and they're a good club. So I always, and I've said this before, I think Areola could be a one for a top job in the future as well.
I think there's an opportunity. There's a good chance that he might not be the manager next year at Bournemouth.
Yeah,
Because there's bound to be a club out there that thinks, you know what, we'll take a chance on him.
maybe Newcastle.
Could be.
Yeah.
The final 3 o'clock game, Nottingham Forest beat Ipswich 1-0, a Chris Wood penalty. The difference here in this game, and it was important for Forest to get back on the winning trail.
For the wee
And
blip.
they did, and I actually I did top Forest for one.
I can't remember what I said. I think I said 1-1. But no, I can't really comment on this game to be honest. I seen none of it. I seen the penalty and it was a stonewall penalty. But for Forest, as you said, it was good to get back to winning ways for them because everyone was sort of hyping them up at the start of the season, and then they had that wee money blip where they lost to Newcastle and then lost to Arsenal. But for them, it's just about ticking along nicely and maybe push for Europe.
I think it is important that they do keep winning because I think they're probably realistic. They're probably only an hour, 2 or 3 wins away from guaranteeing safety. So if they find themselves sort of in January where they're 12 points off Europe, but 12 or 13 ahead of the relegation zones, it almost becomes like a holiday because not really playing for much. The players start to zone out and think, well, we can't really finish in the European places. We're not going to get relegated. Happy days, flop flops on, and they're going to the beach early.
And a lot of people at the start of the season were tipping Forest to go down as well.
Yep. And so I think it was important to get back on the winning trail just so they don't get too comfortable. And you can still obviously now see the European places. So I think that was important. Let's move on to Sunday one because Man United won 4-0 against Everton. They blew them out of the water, really. I think it was 4-0 just after half time. And Ruben Amorim's had a dream start. He's had 2-1s and a draw. He's opening 3 games. But a big test to come now against a high-flying Arsenal team. This will be the test for Man United on Wednesday night.
To be fair, I hope they pass it. But no, they battered. I seen the highlights of this. They battered Everton from start to finish, and I said to you, Sean Dyche, this is a big week for him because they have Wolves. They have Wolves on Wednesday, and then obviously us on Saturday. And I think
if they weren't to beat Wolves and Liverpool were to turn them over badly, there would be unhappy fans in Goodison on Saturday come half 2.
I think we'll speak about United in a minute, but I think he's gone anyway because I think these new owners are going to come on him and like build see there.
Do you think they're just trying to get to the end of the season
and hopefully stay up by? But they could find themselves in the relegation zone this month because I was looking at their fixtures too. They have Wolves, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City all coming up in this month or into the new year. So tough times for Everton and as you say, Ruben Amorim's had a dream start at United. You can only play what you're up against, but as you say, it's going to be a tough test now on Wednesday night. But he's got Rashford scoring again. Xerxes got 2 goals yesterday, So at the minute, it's all going well. But
I think as well, Owen, with just on before we move on to United there, I think as well with the ones that Wolves had there, the back-to-back ones against Southampton and Fulham,
yeah,
Ipswich went to Spurs and won. The bottom of that table's tightened up a wee bit because you do have Southampton a wee bit cut adrift on 5 points, but then you have three teams on 9 points: Ipswich, Wolves, Palace, Leicester on 10, and then Everton on 11. So it is pretty tight down there. I think West Ham then have a 4 point cushion to Everton, but I would think from Everton, Leicester, Palace, Wolves, Ipswich, and Southampton, it's three from six.
any of them can go down, and I would include West Ham in that at the minute. The way they're, the
I
way,
think they've got too much quality, but
I know, but their manager's useless.
I think if it keeps going, I guess he's going to get sacked, and then they'll get a new manager, and they'll be fine. They've got far too
They'll
many
be,
good players.
they'll be ringing David Boys and go, defense coming back. But no, for
But
United,
then
it's,
maybe Jose could be an opportunity there for West Ham. I don't think he would go any lower than a West Ham or Newcastle. I don't
no.
think he would take himself to Everton or anywhere like that. But
Then again,
who
Carlo Ancelotti did, so you never know.
knows?
But for United, it was a big one, and they needed a big one. I seen this was the first time they've scored 4 goals since 2021, which is mental for a club like United. But obviously, I think their fans will be happy with that one, and they'll be hoping it continues on Wednesday against Arsenal. And then I don't know who they have at the weekend.
They play Forest at home on Saturday at 5:30, and then the following week they're away to Man City.
And see, to be honest, playing Man City, United could go there and fancy their chances.
Well, they could go on as favourites if Man City can't get a one before then. But let's move on because Chelsea beat Aston Villa quite comfortably, a 3-0 one, topped off by an absolute banger from Cole Palmer. And Chelsea at the moment are going from strength to strength. They look a really, really good team at the moment. And you'd have to say the opposite for Villa. They look, I think, at the minute, a bit like Man City. Everybody's looking at Aston Villa thinking, when are we playing these? Because they seem to be an easy 3 points for teams at the moment.
I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's just run its course. Emery signed a 5-year deal in the summer, but maybe he's got them.
Do you think he'll be in danger of getting the sack if this continues?
You would have to think so. For as well as he did to get them into the Champions League, but your league forms your bread and butter because no disrespect, Villa are a big club, but they're not going to be in the Champions League every single year. Like they're not a Liverpool, they're not a Man City, they're not an Arsenal who expect to be in the Champions League every year. So I think if it continues, it'll be tough for him to come back from it. And if he gets sacked,
8 games without a win. Though, how long do you think this can go on? Because I'll be honest, I think that we're going to do the games after this. I think Brentford's a massive game for Villa and Emery. I think if they won that, you'd start going, well, where is the one coming from? Because their home form that seems to have been so strong seems to have deserted them. And they were never great travellers under Emery. They've never been a great away team. So that home form seems to have deserted them. And all of a sudden, they're looking like an average Premier League team and lacking in confidence. And I think they're one of the teams in the league that's got the highest XG against them. So teams are cutting through them like there's no tomorrow. And I think when Emery's teams get that high line right, they're really hard to play against. But when it goes wrong, and we've seen it go wrong a few times at our clubs, and we've seen it times that in Villa they've been taken apart when he's been there. It just seems it's consistently going wrong at the moment, and teams are scoring too easy against them. Like even the other day, the back pass, the penalty against Club Brugge, where people just concentration, definitely seems like something's not right there.
I can't put my finger on it, but you have to say, Stefan, as much as we go back and forth, he always said it about Emery that he always struggles at some point.
He's a patchy. I think he's a patchy manager. I think when these teams are hot, they're hot. You can go on great runs, and then I think when they go on, I think he's had a couple of blips at Villa, not as big as this one. Yeah. But I remember the end of the Arsenal, and they could not win a game, and they were getting conceding every week, too many goals. And I think this Brentford game is massive on Wednesday.
Even the end of last season, if you remember, I know they drew 3-3 with Liverpool, but they got battered 5-0 by Crystal Palace in the last day, if you remember.
Yeah.
So their form, even going into this season, hasn't been too good.
Well, I mean, the only reason they got in the top 4 last year was because Spurs made more mistakes in the run than them. Villa's form towards the end of the season wasn't great.
If Spurs had been at themselves, they would have been in the Champions League. But as for
Son had scored that goal against Man City, I think Spurs would have been near enough there.
And then Arsenal would have won the league, and then I would have retired to Spain and never watched football again. But No, but
So big week for Villa. Southampton, Brentford at home, and Southampton at home. He needs wins.
I think I think if he loses, say if he loses both of them, he could be in big trouble.
Oh, I think he would be gone. I
Yeah.
don't think he would let that continue any longer, but we'll see. Owen, final game we're going to speak about: Spurs 1, Fulham 1. Have to say a very liberal, tired-looking Spurs team. It looked like a complete opposite team the last week, and I know we're going to chat about consistency, but it didn't feel like a lack of consistency on Sunday. It felt like this was a team that needed a break. I know there's so many injuries, but it looked a tired Spurs team, and I haven't seen a team come to the Spurs stadium this year and look so comfortable. Fulham dominated for large periods in that game, and Spurs were playing like a counter-attack team.
No, they were, and as we spoke about before we came on, it was a sort of, I don't know how you felt watching it, but when I was watching it, it sort of felt like a shock when Spurs actually went 1-0 up, because if you remember right, I think Fulham, I think it was Robinson had the ball, he was counter-attacking, he lost the ball, and next minute it was down there and 1-0 by Johnson. But even when Spurs scored it, I always felt that Fulham would get the equaliser because Spurs weren't really peppering their goal, they weren't really creating that much, and as you say, they had
Six
no
shots in the whole
strong.
game. 6 shots in the whole game, only 3 on target. That's got to be the lowest at the stadium this year.
Yeah, and they had no Van de Ven, they had no Romero, Solanke. Solanke's not
No
injured. I think
Solanke, no Bentancur, no Romero, no Van de Ven, no Vicario. I know Forster actually did a decent game and goal. He made some good saves, but even playing out of the back, I don't think it's the same way out for Vicario. And then obviously Kulusevski's been our best player this season, and he could only play for 20 minutes at the end. So
was he injured or was he just
I
rested?
think he's carrying something. So it's tough times for Spurs because all these games come thick and fast, and they need to get players back, and they probably need to go into the window in January.
And as I will say too, as much as Son has been brilliant, I think he was awful yesterday. From the he's just not that player anymore. I don't know if it's age, I don't know if it's his injuries catching up to him, but for Spurs, for me they need to go into the market. I don't know where they need to strengthen, but they need to get some sort of player on. They bolster the squad because you seen yesterday even Archie Gray came on and got injured. So
Bergfall seems to be picking up knocks whenever he plays too. So they're really stretched at the moment.
And they have big games coming up, as we said. They have Bournemouth on Thursday, and then Sunday you're going to the Chelsea game.
Would you worry for Spurs this week? Bournemouth I know they blow hot and cold, but at home, they've been good at home this season. They beat Arsenal, they beat Man City, and then Chelsea are absolutely flying at the moment on Sunday.
Well, I said in the last podcast that I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs only get 3 points out of this, which is 3 draws. So I'm 1 for 1 so far. So
I think Spurs would take 3 draws now, to be honest.
That's what I mean. But Spurs are funny. I say this all the time, but Spurs are a funny team. They could go and they could win these next 2, lose these next 2, or draw these next 2. You just don't know with the Spurs team. But I think at the minute
one thing I would say, I think they're lacking in quality now, but it's not just a consistency thing. I think the players that have come on aren't as good as I know they had that result at Man City, but as well as Dragic and Davis have done, they aren't as good on the ball, so there's not as much coming out of the back. Same with the goalkeeper. The midfield, Bentancur is much more technical than Basuma, so he's not getting on the ball. Kulusevski was missing. I think, Sarr looks absolutely shattered. Madison looked like he needed a break. Solanke was out on his knees against Roma. That's no surprise. He wasn't available. He looked out of his feet. Johnson, Son couldn't press as much as they normally do. So it definitely looks like they're struggling and just fatigue at the moment.
And it does catch up to you, like because of the style that Ange plays, he demands so much out of his players. So, and in this intense period of the season, we've seen it last year too. Around this time, maybe I'm wrong, but you can correct me. But I think isn't this the time last season where Spurs this season sort of derailed a bit?
They had a bad month of sort of November, December wasn't great.
I remember them losing. Was it 5-2 to Brighton or something?
4-2 to Brighton now. Owen, let's move on and look ahead to the Premier League games this week. Ipswich and Crystal Palace is your first game tomorrow night at 7:30. Remember, all 10 games are live on Amazon Prime.
You just want me to do any predictions for them,
all game, because we spoke about all the teams, haven't we? And we've only got about 10 minutes left. We have to be off for 7 o'clock. All 10 games are live on Amazon, so you should get to see plenty of football across the next 3 nights. There's 2 games tomorrow. 6 on Wednesday and 2 on Thursday. I always love
To be fair, I don't think I'll be watching any of these tomorrow. We're not very
I have to
appetizing.
say, I always love a midweek Premier League round. There's something about it just breaks up the week nice, and then your weekend comes right and quick. So it's a good week to be a Premier League football fan. Ipswich, Crystal Palace. Owen, these are two of the teams we spoke about that are on that sort of money league of 6. Do you think maybe 3 could go down? So this is a big game.
It is. I'm going to go 1-1 for this. I'm going to go 1-1.
Palace are a team that draw a lot of games, don't they? And that's what's leaning me towards the same outcome. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw too. Leicester take on West Ham. It'll be the 8:15 game tomorrow night. Another massive game, to be honest. If Leicester were to go and win this, it drags probably West Ham into this wee money league. And whereas I think West Ham go and win here, they can probably start looking up rather than looking behind them. So big game, Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game in charge.
Yep.
I think, to be honest, it's a game that if he could have handpicked somebody, we talked about teams you want. They would have been in the bracket that you want to play because they're conceding a lot of goals, West Ham.
And I think if West Ham do lose this, I think Lopetegui could be gone. But again, I'm going to go for another 1-1 draw here. I'm going
to go for a 2-1 West Ham one.
West Ham might have a bit more quality, but I don't know.
Moving on to Wednesday night, Owen, and this is your big night of football. There's lots of games, 6 games, and of course there's going to be 2 massive games where we're going to look at as well. So Everton against Wolves, 7:30. How do you see this game going on? Another clash in that money 6. Yeah. So again, there's huge games at the bottom in these next few nights.
This is a hard one they call because Everton can't score goals, but Wolves can keep clean sheets. I'm going to go 2-1 the Wolves just.
I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. 7:30 as well. Man City take on Nottingham Forest, and all of a sudden, this is a nasty looking game for Man City. Forest, really good counter-attacking team. They'll know Man City's weaknesses. This isn't a banker that Man City get 3 points here, one.
No, it's not, but I think they will. I think this is where they'll end the run. I'm going to go for the same result as I did the last game. I'm going to go 2-1 Man City.
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Man City will probably wait a bit longer for this one. Whew. I just think Forest will exploit them on the counter. Another huge game, Newcastle against Liverpool. If Liverpool can go out and steamroll Newcastle in the first half, you can be sure that the players at Arsenal know about what the score is before they go on the pitch, and who knows, that could affect Arsenal. So, although I don't see it being like that, I think it'll be a tighter game. So, we says Newcastle aren't scoring a lot of goals, but when they lost to West Ham at home, I did think a few weeks ago this was going to be a really tricky game for Liverpool, but with Isak injured now, I think Liverpool have hit them at the right time.
And Gordon doesn't look at his best. I'm going to go for the same result as yesterday. I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool 1.
I'm going to go for the same, 2-0 Liverpool. Your final 7:30 game on Wednesday night is Southampton against Chelsea. I would worry for Southampton in this game because Chelsea are brilliant at winning the ball back high up the pitch, and if they score early, Southampton could be picked off.
I'm going to go 4-0 Chelsea.
I'm going to go 3-0 Chelsea. Another huge game, Arsenal Man United, is probably the glory fixture of the week. The 10 games here, just based on tradition and history, and of course it's a very, very interesting one because it's going to be Ruben Amorim's first real test. And if he didn't know about the Premier League, he'll certainly know about it after going to Arsenal. I know United are on a bit of a good run, but I can't see past Arsenal. If Arsenal are anywhere near their best, I think it'll be a tough night for Man United.
Maybe I have my Liverpool hat on here, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
I'm going to go for a 3-1 Arsenal one. Final game on Wednesday night is a massive game for Aston Villa. We spoke about this earlier.
Yeah.
Which is Brentford on Wednesday night at home and Southampton at home on Saturday. These are 2 games that Villa need to get results on. And as you say, preferably 6 points, but I think even they need to get at least 4. I think if they were to go into these 2 games and not win one of them, it's difficult then because you're in the double digits, 10 games without a win. You're looking at the fixtures going, well, we've just had teams we should be beating at home. Where does the one come from? So
it's relegation for them, isn't it?
It is, and I am not convinced that Villa will win this one. I don't know how you're feeling about it.
No, neither am I. I'm going by the form book here. I know Brentford aren't great away from home, but if they're ever going to pick up a good result at the minute away from home, it will be Villa. I'm going to back them to do it. I'm going to go 3-1 to Brentford.
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw.
Moving on to Thursday, Owen, it's Fulham against Brighton is a 7:30 game.
This could be a fun game to watch.
Should be an attacking game. This it should be interesting.
Yep. Both teams like they play front foot football, so you know what? I'm going to go for a bit of a mad one. I'm going to go 3-3.
3-3. I'm going to back Fulham this one. I think they get a ball line. I think they'll get back on track at home. I'm going to go for a 3-2 Fulham one. And then the final game is Bournemouth against Spurs on Thursday night at 8:15. I think Bournemouth probably considered favourites for this one.
At the minute, the Spurs are down to their bare bones at the minute, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
I'm going to agree. When I say 2-2, and I think that's more with my heart than my head, to be honest. I'll go for a 2-2 draw. I'll take a draw now, to be honest. And then maybe beat Chelsea on Sunday because I'm at the game. I would love that. I think if we get 4 points in that order, draw up for Bournemouth, beat Chelsea, it'll be a great week.
You'll be happy with that, though.
So, Owen, it's been brilliant having you on. We will be back we'll be back on Friday. I'll probably looking ahead to the weekend's games again. We'll obviously go through everything that's happened on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night before we start looking into the weekend's games. So you've seen all them games are live on Amazon Prime. So I'm sure you'll have a great midweek and sort of the first week of December and building up to Christmas. Big games coming fucking fast. This is the best time of the year, I think, for football fans. Owen, top man as always, and I'll see you soon, sir.
Cheers, lad.